Packers get humbled again by the Lions in a thrilling back-and-forth game, and the road to the Super Bowl is now going through Motown. Let's take a dive into what happened to the Pack.
Yeah, I've been wanting this shit forever. I've been in the field with whatever they throw at me. Brush it off, pick myself up, moving on to the better. Okay. Hey. Yeah. Ain't no errors, baby, it's a new era. I wake up early feeling rich like I'm Kesha.
Welcome in another episode. Sounds good. Thank you to everyone coming back and taking a listen to us. As always, I'm here next to my best friend, Jordan Olson. We are two best friends recording this podcast, so we are excited every week to talk all things Packers with you. Jordan, the Packers get humbled again in what was a very thrilling back and forth game to the Detroit Lions. Detroit Lions did win 34-31. There's a lot of different things I feel like we can talk about. To me, I feel like the Lions are probably just a better team and have been obviously throughout this year. They beat us twice, but how are you feeling coming out of this game?
I mean, a lot of mixed emotions, right? I kind of tempered my expectations, especially, before the game. I was talking to my dad, and I'm like, all right, like in the grand scheme of this game means a lot, and it means nothing at the same time. If we would have won, of course, we would have needed some more help from the Lions, them to probably lose to the Bills and another game down the stretch this season to have a chance at the division, which, the way they're playing, those odds seem kind of slim. But I'm like, if we lose against the best team in football, all of our goals are still out there. 11, 12 wins, a chance to secure that 5th or 6th seed in the playoffs, depending on how we close things out. I was just really hoping for a good and competitive game. And outside of the first 3 possessions where the Packers started extremely slow, going punt, and then a Christian Watson fumble, they really regrouped and, they felt like they had a chance. And as I was watching this game unfold, I really felt like the game was going to end with the winner of whoever had the ball last. And once the Lions got that ball with 3 minutes and 48 seconds left, I've watched them enough times to know that the Packers are not getting this ball back, and they're probably going to score. So the writing was on the wall for me then. Like you said, a lot to talk about. We've got some kind of reflection on maybe where this means for the Packers moving forward. This year and kind of in the grand scheme of things. I don't know. What are your feelings after a couple of days removed from this game?
Confused.
Tell me more about that.
Dazed and confused.
Yeah.
Specifically, Matt LaFleur's approach to the beginning of this game. The first play, right? Trick play, trying to throw it all the way down, deep shot. You get sacked by, I think that was Zadarius Smith, right? And then you're in 2nd and 17. That you can almost basically count that series out, right? So so you had mentioned it though too as well, but punt first series, punt second series, and then Matt LaFleur is like, oh, they're bringing the house all the time. Let's dial up some man crossers. Okay, that's good. That's great. You get the ball to Christian Watson, big gain, and then Christian Watson just, has his first fumble, at least according to his dad, of his career, and just tried to do a little bit too much with, holding the ball up in the air. And of course, you get some of those pesky Lion players and Carlton Davis, and we don't even need to go down the Kirby Joseph route, but picks that out and causes a fumble. So that series is what it is. But then that fourth one, I think and you can correct me here if I'm wrong, I don't have an exact stat on it. It's like 12 runs to 2 passes or 3 passes or something of what it was. But you made what has been working for you the last 3 weeks, like ad nauseum. It's been shown, right? Mm-hmm. To be working and working well. It showed it exactly on that series to run the ball down their throat, get some creative ways to get Josh Jacobs the ball. He is our number one option right now on offense,
Mm-hmm.
Get him the ball, get him running it, and we scored a touchdown. So I'm sure you felt the same way too. What did you think of Matt LaFleur's specific game plan and game script for the offense as far as coming out of the gate?
Well, the scripted drives, really that's typically like the first 3, right? Kind of odd before he adjusted. I think he made great adjustments. but particularly us knowing, we didn't know it when we recorded last, but I mean, the full impact or extent of who the Lions would be missing, but I mean, basically missing every starter on the defensive line. Ali McNeil eventually goes out of the game, and then, they're missing 2 or their 3 starting linebackers, more, key linebackers there, and it's just like, you're right.
Feel like that to you? Did it feel like that? I feel like I was watching the starting defensive line for the Detroit Lions.
What do you mean?
I just felt like they were coming off hot off the ball. They were that Connor guy.
From their explosion performance factor, it really didn't seem like the Lions' defensive front missed a beat at all. But the point I was trying to make is, to the point you were trying to make, you see a disadvantage there, and why not come out a little bit more run heavy? But in the end, statistically, I think the Lions ended up with 76 total plays, and we had 45. A lot of that is attributed to our bad start. We got down in that first half, and then we came out. Obviously, we settled in. I guess one more thing about the start of the game that I don't know that I agreed with is, I know Matt LaFleur in his presser said that he wanted to defer and take the ball in the second half because of how the last game played out. They got down and they didn't want to get double dipped on.
Yeah.
I think we've always had success when we've taken the ball and we've had the lead, and I wouldn't want to play down to this team. I would have wanted to get out and try to get a 7-0, 10-3, 10-0 kind of lead on this team and make Jared Goff pass the ball in pressure situations, and it ended up being a shootout in the second half. But I think I would have went the other way and stayed with Matt LaFleur's traditional approach of taking the ball and trying to put the pressure on the other team, which the Lions have not had to deal many times this year with truly playing from behind, and that kind of pressure applied to them, and that didn't play out in this game again. But they're even in the turnover battle. We're able to, Keyshawn Nixon has a great interception on Jared Goff to kind of even out that Christian Watson fumble. Penalties statistically were even this game. And I don't want to spend too much talking about penalties or officiating, but Rob, what's your 2-minute thoughts on the officiating in this game? 2 minutes.
Okay. All right. It's been this way for how many years, right? I think it's kind of just baked in for every team. There's always going to be a lot of gray area. Of course, as Packers fans, the one I thought that was the most egregious was obviously the Christian Watson offensive pass interference. He throws a touchdown there to Jacobs, so obviously that would have meant that the Lions would have gone down and scored a field goal to tie it instead of to win it. So, which they probably would have done. We couldn't stop them. But that being said, we were talking about this too on the pre-pod, but if you're a Packers fan, you're screaming to not have that, and if you're a Lions fan, obviously you're screaming for that. That one I feel like has got a lot more gray area and gets brought up more than obviously once. There's a whole bunch of times that gets brought up.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like the NFL officiating needs to really get clear on that. I feel like there's a lot of acting too, and some of that, flopping a lot harder than when people are being barely touched. I felt like Christian Watson was actively trying to run his route and get out of the way, but that's just my 2 cents. What about you, man?
Mm-hmm. The most egregious one for me, that's a tough play to call. I understand it. It was costly for us. The most egregious one was clearly the one where St. Brown, which clearly has beef with us, take Xavier McKinney's helmet straight off in the middle of the field. You're telling me not one official saw illegal hands to the face? It's pretty hard to miss a helmet flying off of somebody's head, right?
Yeah.
That's my biggest beef. I know Jordan Love took some contact to the head too, and sometimes with the angle. I do a lot of basketball officiating myself, a little football officiating in my career, and sometimes you just don't have an angle at the play. Now they have enough guys out there that they should be able to see most things, but I don't know. There's been a lot of podcasts that have done a lot of wailing and mashing over officiating and how that impacted this game, and I think the Packers just straight up got beat. A couple of calls their way could have changed the fortunes, maybe, but They dug their own grave. And, again, we were soft over the middle. And I know, especially as the injuries piled up in this
Always.
game, and we saw Williams go out and Bullard go out, LVN go out and Ryan go out. Ryan, he returned. LVN returned as well. He had that reported thumb injury. So it was good to see them back later. But ultimately, in the second half, we were not able to overcome the loss of Williams and Bullard. And Tim Patrick and Sam Laporta and St. Brown ate us over the middle again, which is what we've been talking about for weeks on this podcast, that we are soft and can be gutted there. No, we don't give up the big play over the top, but it doesn't matter when you give up 15, 20 yards a clip over the middle.
Jared Goff completed his last 12 passes in a row. They're, towards obviously in the fourth quarter. So you're spot on ad nauseum. And then I'm watching a couple of plays with Stokes covering Tim Patrick. I think it was the one where Tim Patrick scored the touchdown. I could play better cornerback than Eric Stokes on that. He jukes him left. He goes right. Stokes looks lost. He's gone. He's got a couple of yards of separation. Easy touchdown. It's Tim Patrick. Great story and everything I'm saying, but it's not Amon-Ra. It's not Laporta. It's not Gibbs. It's Tim Patrick. He's an NFL wide receiver, so whatever. And anyway, I wasn't saying it was anything special. I'm just saying, yeah, you're right. And then X is back there too, having the direct, traffic and be there and try to communicate people going the right way and see the tendencies, which was over the middle all the time. And then a few calls too, speaking of NFL refs, that we weren't getting, that push, on Keyshawn Nixon there at the end when they got that big gain that sealed the game for them. You're right. It was bad. I know we couldn't stop them as soon as they got the ball. I knew they were going to come down and score. That's exactly what they did.
Yeah, that Keyshawn one doesn't bother me as much as some. There was a little push off there, but, instead of staying with the play, immediately started complaining about it. Just stay with the goddamn play at that point in time. And, these guys are always seeking minor advantages down the field. So, Zadarius Smith gets his sack as he continues his revenge tour on the Green Bay Packers. I just wanted to note that. Overall, that's another thing that was even. Maybe I mentioned this already. My coffee's still setting in as we record this early on a weekend morning. But, we couldn't generate enough pass rush or pressure against Jared Goff. The teams ended up with one sack each, so Love only got sacked once, Goff only got sacked once.
Yeah.
But in the first half in particular, Jordan Love seemed like he was under complete duress. I don't know. We certainly started helping him out a little bit later by scheming up some runs and some short passes. But that was very disruptive with their B squad defensive line. And we've got our guys out there again. And, it doesn't seem like, and they're missing Taylor Decker. And it doesn't seem like we can generate the kind of pressure needed to put a guy off of his game.
You're spot on, and that's, even with Decker missing, that's still one of the best offensive lines. I felt like it was the same kind of way with the Eagles too, right? And they have one of the better offensive lines as well. It's our Achilles heel. You had another pretty good game from Kenny Clark, I'd say. A little bit of some pressures, and he was. Let me give some props where props are due right now, just to hit a little bit on the glass half full. The run defense has been phenomenal the last 3 games, and it highlighted this time again. To stop Sonic and Knuckles, as people call him, but David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, who are elite running backs and bring some awesome skill sets. I believe they held, I don't have the exact stats here, but Montgomery was 3.4 or 3.5 yards per carry, and Gibbs was down on the 2.8 or 2.9 or whatever it was.
Yeah. They held the tandem to less than 100 yards total, 51 for Montgomery and 43 for Gibbs. Only one touchdown for the pair. So, that's been, you got to give Halfley credit. We can't generate pass rush.
Nope.
But we do stop the run well. We limit running quarterbacks. That has been a huge improvement for us, which I guess we got to take, the good with the bad.
Yeah, and just go back to your point too real quick. The Packers did not think the Lions were going to do that much pressure with that amount of times obviously it disrupted everything until that third series, or LaFleur was like, oh, okay, I got to do something different here. So, I mean, you could tell that they had not planned or prepped for that. It just got eaten alive, man. Josh Myers, my dude, I believe he scored a 0 in pass block for PFF on this one. That was going around the interwebs. I mean, you saw it.
He was the worst rated Packers player on offense by PFF. And to your point earlier, Kenny Clark was the highest rated defensive player by PFF.
Yeah, it just they even that backup O'Connor, he made Myers look stupid, So that was rough, And once we finally started to get our legs back underneath us, realize what we end up doing well, which is run the ball first, run the ball, marry that up with play action, you start having a ton more success. So it was either way, it was a thrilling game though. So.
Yeah, I'll point out just a couple more guys I want to give some flowers to, and then I've got 2 questions for you. We'll kind of do maybe a somewhat of a speed round with that. But, we got to mention the job that Josh Jacobs did. I know he didn't have a big day in terms of yardage, but man, the dude's a bowling ball. He ended up with 3 touchdowns, and I love Aaron Jones. Not that right now, really, because he's a Viking. But, Josh Jacobs is greater than Aaron Jones, and he has unlocked and done amazing things in this offense. And I think he now has 8 touchdowns over his last 3 games as a Packer. And, I mean, Josh Jacobs is the man. One other thing before I ask you kind of the big question, and then we'll close out this show. What do you make of Jaden Reed's disappearance? I know that he had 2 touchdowns last week, but in terms of a yardage perspective, I mean, he's 3 out of the last 4 games, he's kind of been a non-factor. So, I mean, I kind of see he's sitting there just under 700 yards. I kind of see his chances at 1,000-yard season dwindling at this point in time, especially with recent performance. So, I don't know. You think teams have figured him out, or does he have a resurgence in the next few weeks here?
Quick, right? So you got to find ways to get him the ball. We have to find ways to include him in the offense. Because to me, obviously, right now, if it's Josh Jacobs is the number one option, or should be the number one option, I feel like. And then it's a lot of Christian Watson, which is good, right? Christian Watson's having a little bit of resurgence here, and he brings a different type of game, but he's been catching a ton of balls.
Tucker Kraft is getting his too.
Tucker Kraft.
And Kraft, another player who had an amazing game.
Yeah.
And I loved how he took that hit and then just popped up after that on his feet. You gotta love Tucker Kraft. We don't have enough time to talk about all the good things we've been talking. We've been kind of coping on this episode with the reality of things. That's kind of leads me into my last question is where does this put the Packers in the grand scheme of things moving forward? Maybe not only this season, but, next year, as a divisional opponent against the Lions. And what's your 90-second answer on that?
Well, we're going to be a 6 or 7 seed for sure. No doubt. We're going to have to go all on the road as, even if we win 11, 12 games, which is absolutely crazy to say. Unless somehow the Vikings end up beating the Lions in Detroit, which I don't think they've played yet. And then, anyway, but yes, so for us, that's going to be the case. We're the youngest team still. We're still the youngest team. And I feel like we're really, really, really close. Yes, I think we're going to need some more cornerback. Yes, we need some more pass rush. To me, it's always the defense, right? I think offensively, a new center might not be bad, as far as draft picks, but I feel like we're pretty loaded as far as that side goes. So I'm sure it's going to be another defensive, heavy type of draft. Packers are extremely talented, and they easily could have won this game with a call or two that goes our way. I think that we are ascending. The stock is going up for the Packers for the next 4 or 5, 6 years. Buy the stock right now. We're not even in our prime yet, and we're the youngest team. So if we can go on the road, do a little a la, how awesome would that be? Exactly like 2010, 2011, going on the road and taking care of business, go all the way to the Super Bowl, right? That's magical dreams. But that's my take. Buy your stock now in the Packers because we're ascending.
Yeah, you never know what these windows look like. You mentioned 3 or 4, 5, 6 years. I really think for sure the window's open now, for the next 2, and we'll see how many of these guys they can retain. But right now, the Lions are clearly the cream of the crop. I think I told this to many people beforehand, but this will not be the last time that the Packers play the Lions this season. Mark my words. I think it's coming in the divisional round. I know you kind of said, hey, the Packers will probably be a 6 or 7, which is likely. I think they got a chance at the 5, especially if they can beat the Vikings head-to-head. But they're going to have to, basically win out to do that. But I think that they should be favorites in all of their remaining games. Maybe the Vikings on the road, they won't be a favorite in terms of Vegas betting. I could see the Vikings being like a 3-point favorite at home there. But I think from analysis and, ESPN statistics, I think the Packers will be favored in those contests. But yeah, I'm not too down on it. The Lions took their lumps kind of to get to the point where that they're at now, and I see us just as a year behind them. But maybe over the next 4 or 5 weeks, we can get it together, and it's always hard to beat a team 3 times in one season, so we will see if they meet again. We are recording this on a Saturday before the rest of the NFL slate, so we've only got one game to report on, and we've talked all about it so far. How that impacts the playoff picture, we've already kind of shared. The Lions are a 12-win team. They look like they are in full control of that 1 seed, and we'll see if the Eagles can make that interesting. The Packers are now 9-4. They're still 1 game ahead of where the Commanders are at and locked into that 6th spot right now. So, as always, everybody, thanks for being here, talking Packers football with us. We've got more content from Sounds Gouda every Wednesday and Saturday. We're going to get back on more of a regular schedule now that we've ended this run of Thursday games. But thanks for listening. Share this with anybody who is a Packers fan. If you're watching on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts, make sure to comment, let us know what you think. Connect with us at X at Sounds Gouda with 3 A's or Olson Jord. But until next time, Packers Nation, have a Gouda morning, a Gouda afternoon, and a Gouda night. And go Pack.
Go Pack, go.
Been wanting this shit forever. I've been in the field with whatever they throw at me. Brush it off, pick myself up, moving on to the better. Okay. Hey.